Today's video, we are going to talk about PMAX versus standard shopping campaigns. What is more profitable for you to run for your business? Can you run actually a hybrid model where you're actually running an ad account with a PMAX and with a standard shopping campaign at the same time? Of which mostly the answer to that, by the way, is no. It's not impossible, but mostly for most people, in most situations, no, you cannot. But with that said, there's definitely pros to running a PMAX campaign over a standard shopping campaign, which I'm going to talk about, at least if you set up the PMAX campaign the correct way, that actually does work better than a standard shopping campaign. I will go through here in detail a couple other situations, if you stay to the end of the video, where standard shopping made way more money than PMAX to run a shopping placement for our brand representing, and then also a situation where PMAX made much more money than a standard shopping campaign for a brand that we were managing. So you can actually see how much more money you can make utilizing the information I'm giving you here when you're using one over the other, and depending on your situation, because there's certain situations where actually a standard shopping campaign will actually work and make you more profit overall than a PMAX campaign that most, experienced Google Ads managers are going to be using in their account. So with that said, getting into the content here, I am Corey Zyman, owner of Guarantee PPC, an online advertising agency that specializes in guaranteeing people's results on their ad campaigns before charging management fees. We're the only agency on the planet that offers such services, which should tell you something about the quality of the information that's shared with you on this video, given I'm the lead strategist at the firm that makes all that possible. With that said, getting into the actual content this time, PMAX and standard shopping. Both of these actually have pros and cons, of which you should know to be able to diagnose which one of these you should actually be running for your business, given you pretty much have to pick one or the other to run a standard shopping or a shopping placement ad for your business for an item, for an individual item or group of items. Because you could technically target, if you have 5 items, you could go ahead and do a standard shopping for 2 items and a PMAX campaign for the other 3. That you can do. What you can't, for the most part, do is run both of these campaigns for the same items, because PMAX will gobble up all the impressions. If you didn't know that, that's the case. So with that said, the first thing to mention on PMAX and why it typically works, it's more profitable to run PMAX for those items that you want to promote through shopping. It's easier to set up / manage for the most part. Now, this isn't necessarily true, if you will. You actually go ahead and use the asset groups, and you try to really use all the levers and switches with that PMAX campaign to run that shopping campaign. That said, you absolutely do not want to use all those features on that PMAX campaign if you want to make the most money. You want to run what they call a feed-only PMAX setup, where you're going to have no headlines, no ad images, nothing other than just the product feed by itself that will force it to run on regular shopping instead of other places. And you may say, well, I want to run those other ads in those other places as well. Well, you'll make more money doing that through a standalone campaign, a search campaign to run search placements, display campaign to run display placements, and so forth, because you have a lot more control over your investment with standalone campaigns than you do with that PMAX campaign as a whole. And it's hard enough to make money, by the way, running a search campaign, to not have all those different options to dial in your investment, like I talk about on other videos on this channel. So you just want to be able to run shopping ads with the PMAX campaign. It actually does run shopping placements better than a standard shopping campaign, but only shopping placements run better through PMAX. Display, search campaigns, demand gen campaigns, YouTube campaigns don't actually run better through PMAX itself. So, and then the asset groups, if you will, building those up, there's no situation where that actually is worth doing. The machine learning systems that Google has to run those shopping placements for your company inside that PMAX campaign, at least for what I've seen, I'm always, there's always the possibility I could be proven wrong, but you just throw all your items in that campaign and Google's going to sift through it and get the maximum sales out of those items as it can, but without creating separate asset groups for different categories of items. Mainly because if you do have, let's say you sell home goods, you sell mattresses, and you sell couches, and they're so different, the buyers are so different from one another, you'll actually, a lot of times, make more overall profit putting one PMAX campaign together that targets just couches and one PMAX campaign that targets just the couches separately. So in other words, you'll make more money with two separate campaigns, not with two asset groups that are separating those items out inside the PMAX campaign. Why is that? Basically, I'm not entirely sure, but for the most part, you're going to have more control over your investment. You could set a different ROAS target for those items separately, given that they have different margins, and therefore, for that reason alone, you're going to do better off having those two categories of items that have very different customers in two different campaigns. Which, by the way, you would only want to break it up if the buyers are very radically different from one another. That's the only time you would want to separate your items into two separate PMAX campaigns. Otherwise, you're going to be spreading the learnings out on two separate campaigns, and it'll make it take longer to get to the end result that you want, having that level of fragmentation going on. So with that said, also a benefit of PMAX and why it actually gets you more profit from your items that you want to promote through shopping, there's more machine learning available. In other words, Google is going to use more of their sophisticated machine learning algorithms to figure out where your customers lie for the items that you sell with the PMAX campaign than you are with standard shopping. Standard shopping is kind of like a manual approach to marketing. You can do bid adjustments on different times of the day, days of the week, that kind of thing, which is kind of like one of the main reasons why people will use a standard shopping campaign over a PMAX campaign, other than the ability to add negative keywords a little bit easier, which you can add negative keywords to a PMAX campaign, but it's not as easy. The main benefit of using a standard shopping is the search terms report, and I'll talk about that a bit more in a moment. Big part of your results is the machine learning that Google's going to use with that PMAX, why it actually makes more money than the standard shopping campaign. And without getting too overly technical, just know that's why the primary reason why PMAX is going to get you more profit from the items that you're promoting through shopping than through running those same items in a standard shopping campaign. Finally, now in terms of the drawbacks on PMAX, there's no way to easily add negatives. Ultimately, because there's no search terms report, auction insights, audience insights on PMAX, in the insights menu of that PMAX campaign, it does give you some level of search term data that is actually sharing with you what people are typing in before clicking on their ads or your ads. That's leading to a sale versus not leading to a sale, but it's hindered. It's meant to obscure the data on purpose. I mean, Google doesn't say that outright, but that's what they're doing, because they could easily show you all that data, but they don't. And when you don't have all that data, it's hard to know what negative keywords to add, even though you can add negative keywords to a PMAX campaign if you know how to do it, which I won't go into the details on that specifically, but whereas on the standard shopping campaigns, they give you all that data. And that's, again, the primary reason why you'd run a standard shopping campaign over PMAX, even though you're going to miss out on the machine learning functionality that PMAX has with it. Now, before I get into standard shopping campaigns, if you want to know which one of these is going to be better for you to make the most money, and you're not quite sure, even with the information I'm giving you here, you can reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com. Be happy to have a conversation with you about it and how much more money you can make if you do things the correct way. This is what we do for clients at our firm anyway. We give our clients an 8-quarter projection on the stuff that we talk about will work. And then on top of it, what we will actually promise them in terms of additional profit that those actions will take. If you want that from us, you can reach out to us at our firm and we'll be happy to have a conversation with you about it. We also sell ad templates. We're the only one that I still know that does this. We worked in over 200 different niche markets in the last 10 years of running this firm now, of which, if we've already worked in your niche market, you literally can buy from us the winning ads, campaign templates, landing page templates that we've used to get great results in your niche market already, that you copy paste into your own ad accounts and get the same results we are. That's a great way, by the way, to start a business. If you wanted to diversify your income and you wanted to get into something that's a sure bet, sell an item that our client sells in a country that they don't want to sell in another country, and then sell it in that other country they don't want to do business, and you'll have turnkey results with it. Or do it at least 5 of our other clients have done with these templates, which is to generate leads and then sell the leads to people in that industry. Mark the leads up 50% and then sell them to the other client in that industry, whether you're talking about legal leads, which there's so many spaces where people will buy leads like that. Anyway, if you're interested to see what results we got in your niche market and if a template's available at the very least, which you should absolutely do because you're going to save yourself so much time and money figuring out what we had to figure out, you can reach out to me and I'll let you know what results we got in your industry if we have a template, and then of course what the template would cost. There's no way though paying to buy our template if we're getting better results than you by a significant margin. Not buying the template there'll be no reason, legitimate reason not just get the template from us and use it in your ad account. But with that said, getting into the content here again, standard shopping has its own benefits and drawbacks as well, of which the main benefit is you can be more efficient short term. And the reason for that is specifically because Google's going to show you the actual search term data that you have, that what people are physically typing in before clicking on your ads. And when you can see that, you can right away be aggressive about adding negative keywords and start blocking out quicker than what the machine learning algorithm is going to do. What doesn't work with, you're going to hamper your long-term volume potential that you can get by immediately getting a higher ROI. Whereas the machine learning algorithm with your PMAX campaign is going to focus on more long-term volume in terms of sales you can get by sacrificing short-term efficiency. So if you have to get results soon or you're going to run out of money, well, standard shopping can be your answer. And to be honest, where we'll usually use a standard shopping campaign over PMAX is in a situation where we only have so much time to get the results or nothing, but also in any market where we sell branded items. Because let's say you sell jewelry. We just had one that was in this specific market. You sell branded jewelry, and your branded jewelry is necklaces. If you have a PMAX campaign, what Google's system will do is see you sell necklaces, they sell their brand name necklaces. They won't just have your ad show up for people typing in that specific necklace and brand. So like, Dior Renaissance necklace. They'll have it show up for necklaces for sale, which, Google can eventually, their system can eventually find you customers and find that 2% of the people searching for necklaces for sale that will buy that specific product will only find it after a long time of doing testing. You can actually add enough negative keywords if you're a psycho like I am and actually go and add thousands of negative keywords to carve out the exact part of the market that you want to have your ad show up for ultimate very fast efficiency, where in other words, if they don't type in that exact brand name, the shopping ad's not going to show up. And that will get you to really good high amounts of ROI with your shopping placements because you added all the negative keywords to block out all the general searches, which for the most part in a lot of markets, if you want to get to good results, you should start with long tail keyword targeting only. That is people typing in 4 or 5 word combinations, not 2 or 3 word combinations, and especially not 2 word combinations. You can add that to what your overall advertising strategy later on when the 4 or 5 word combinations are already profitable. That way you don't run out of money, and you can limit to what you're doing in terms of testing to just 10% of your budget. So you never are running out of negative or loss. We'll start with the low-hanging fruit, 4 or 5 word combinations. When that's working, we'll target the 3 word combinations, devoting a separate campaign to target those 3 word combinations, and only 10% of our budget there. And it may take 6 months of running it at that small budget to hit profitability, but it's fine. And we do that to then consistently have a way still for our sales to scale up over time. Really, what you should always be doing is have at least or around 10% of your ad budget that goes to stuff that you're not expecting to work right away. But if you run it long enough, Google's system will eventually find out within what you're doing the stuff that actually works, whether it's 1%, 5% of it. The people that search for a keyword, it's not so simple. The keyword red shoes, if you sell red shoes, a lot of times for a lot of brands, there's only 5% of it that will actually work. That, a person has to have a certain income, be of a certain age, have searched a certain amount for red shoes before making the search for them to be statistically likely to convert. It will take a lot of pissing money away to find out where that 5% is. Well, if 10% of your overall budget's going to that, you're not going to feel it in terms of your ROI, but you'll still keep building in long-term revenue growth from your account, spending the 10% on that speculative stuff like that over time. And so instead of being so obtuse, like everybody just wants things to work right away, you understand making more money. A part of it is investing into a campaign for a long time to eventually find out the small part of it that works versus everything that didn't. You can actually over time keep growing your sales. The average person's going to say, oh, it didn't work after 2 weeks, and then they're just going to shut it off. And then ultimately what some of these bozos will do is ultimately find out the only thing that works is brand searches, because that's the only thing that works instantly. And they're like, oh, nothing else works. And they don't even know it's brand searches because they don't look at their damn search terms report. And they're just not even growing. They can't grow because they expect things to work too damn quickly. Most stuff that's worth it in life isn't that easy to get. You want it to take 6 months for it to work because if somebody else that competes against you that gets into the game, you don't want them to take it away from you in 2 weeks. And if anything was going to work in 2 weeks, your competitors would have already been doing it before you even started, and there would be no opportunity there to start with. So let's not be kids about this, about expecting things to work instantly, and it should work like that because I want it to, and realize anything with that kind of value that can make literal millions of dollars a year isn't going to be done with a teeny bit of money to get it going. There's, the person who's willing to think about it the right way and invest properly is the one that gets it. That's the differentiator. So going into what I was mentioning about shopping, you could start out adding all those negative keywords, get the very specific long tail keywords to work. Then you go ahead and set up another standard shopping campaign that doesn't have all those negative keywords, and then now pick up all the 2-3 word combinations and you try to scale your sales with that, but only by, like I mentioned before, keeping the overall budget on that campaign that targets those 2-3 word combinations to 10% of your overall spend, so your overall account ROI doesn't go negative while you're trying to get the 2-3 word combinations to work. We actually had somebody who sold mobility equipment and like motor scooters, like stuff like that, lift chairs, that kind of thing. We used a standard shopping campaign with that particular company because if they're not looking for a certain brand of scooter already, down to a certain model, the ROI is not very good. What you end up having when you target people looking for motor scooters is a bunch of, you're paying to educate a bunch of people on what to buy. They go browsing through your site for information. No, you want to be there when they're down to a specific model. And am I just going to buy it from him, or him? And they're going to do it today, or they're going to do it this week. Start doing that at least first. You shouldn't limit yourself to that by any means, but that's what you should be doing first. Particularly if you know you only got so much time and money to get it profitable. So you don't run out of money first. If you got millions in the bank and you can piss away $100,000 before your campaign's profitable, by all means, don't take any of these precautions, or if you will, actions to make your campaigns more efficient quicker, and just throw money at it, and the algorithm will eventually find your customers and it'll be profitable, and that's fine. If you can't do that, you have to put more work in, aka add more negative keywords aggressively at the beginning with a standard shopping campaign to get to work as quick as possible. The other thing with standard shopping is, of course, on drawback, in terms of drawbacks, is there's less machine learning. I mentioned before, that's a big component of why you're going to make more overall money with PMAX versus standard shopping. Even though they don't give you access to the search term data, it's still worth it. You also have more work to manage, to take advantage of the benefits. Of course, physically, to get those benefits, you're going to have lots of negative keywords, and you're going to have to basically once a day even look at the search terms report, add another 40-50 negative keywords, and do that every day for the first 3 months to have enough negative keywords built up so that your ads only show up for long tail searches or certain make and model searches, like with the mobility scooter example that I showed you or mentioned just a minute ago. But with that said, if you want to know the rest of the little tweaks or techniques to get shopping to work, this is just one part of it, knowing which of these to use. Beyond that, the image testing, knowing what images typically work the best. Is it white background, active background, drop shadow, non-drop shadow? I cover that all in detail on this channel. Subscribe to this channel and I'll give you every little piece of information, every teeny tweak and technique we have to just really crush running shopping placements. The reason why we have it is because I spent 10 years as my full-time job just doing ad testing to find out what works the best, and I give it to you all for free on this channel. It's unique in that most of the content you find about making money with ads is all done by people who don't really run any ads. Believe it or not. They sell a course, they pretend like they run ads, they don't run any ads. Or they run a couple ads, or they run a firm, but they don't actually do the work themselves. You are serious about making things work. You want to get the information from this channel at the very least first, from somebody who's not going to tell you what you want to hear, which is you just click here and here and here and you're rich, that you put the work in to make a better experience for your users and learn what it actually takes to do that, put it into place, then get rich. But get more so get rich after working your ass off. You want to know the stuff that works, it's on this channel. You can also find my blog that has a lot of that information as well. You can find my blog actually at guaranteedppc.com/blog. The blog has more detailed breakdowns of the strategies we use to routinely guarantee results for clients at our firm, with screenshots, with everything you need to use those strategies. So if you like the channel, you're getting value out of it, you should definitely check that out as well. And then beyond that, you should also definitely, if you have any one-off questions about anything I'm covering here today, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel about any PPC, advertising, marketing related question. And so if you have any one-offs, let me know. With that said, I talked about earlier, if you watch to the end of this video, I would have actual case studies of how much this stuff is actually going to work for your business. So I'm going to give you those now, specifically where standard shopping was able to pull us out of a funk where PMAX was not working, so you know whether that should be you and how much you stand to earn doing it, versus vice versa here. Person was using standard shopping and then how much PMAX actually increased the profitability when they switched over to that. So I'll start with the PMAX. So we had a women's fashion brand. They sold women's clothing. Person was using standard shopping campaigns, simply switch, and this was standard shopping campaigns, by the way, that were running for years already. Switched over to PMAX. We took the campaign from about a 2.5 ROI or ROAS or 250% ROAS, got it up over 400% ROAS within 90 days of just switching it over. PMAX is actually going to use all the data that it has in your account to the benefit of the PMAX campaign. As we've noticed, added machine learning that is able to be done to get you in more competitive auctions and understanding where you should show versus where you shouldn't show. It is immense how much more this makes. Like I said earlier, the drawback of not having all the search term data so you can not do negative keywords as well and as aggressively, it doesn't matter. You know, it'd be nice to have that data on PMAX. Maybe someday Google will allow us to have that data on PMAX, but even if they never do that, it will generally 95% of the time make you more profit from your ads to run your shopping placements, running those shopping placements through your PMAX versus a standard shopping campaign. Now to go the other way with this, the mobility scooter company is just one. We actually had gotten 100% ROAS with that company within the first 6 months of running that campaign, specifically on running PMAX, I should say. So they were getting about 100% ROAS after running for several months the campaign. When we switched to standard shopping, because I already knew by time we're going to get this up to a 300% ROAS that we need at minimum to be break even with this particular client's campaign. It's going to be 12 plus months into the future, and the client's going to go, they don't have that much time to do it. For me, I would just have stuck it out because I have money on deck to do that kind of thing. This client didn't, so I know what we're forced to do, which is to switch to standard shopping, add a load of negative keywords into the campaign so that the ads only show up for make and model level searches, people looking for a Johnson 1287 mobility scooter. And we were able to quickly turn around that ROI, got it up to 250% ROI after 90 more days of running that campaign already. So basically saved it. Really good example of how much this and where and when the standard shopping can pull your ROI up really quickly. If you want to put the work in to add literally thousands of negative keywords, which a lot of you guys would just say, oh, forget about it. I'm not interested. I'll lose money letting PMAX figure it out all for me. But if you really you're in a situation where it's got to work in the next 90 days or nothing, standard shopping can be a way to like really make things happen. And for that matter, 90 days is really not even enough time if you're in that situation where PMAX, let's say, is getting a 200% ROAS and you need 600. Switching to standard shopping isn't going to be, unless you have a huge budget like of $20,000 a month, you're not going to have enough data and enough time to add the negative keywords fast enough to get the ROI up enough in time, because you got to spend to get the search term data and then add the negative keywords or what have you, unless you have search campaigns that you were running and you could access that data, build your negative keyword list from that, and then use it in your standard shopping campaign. Then you could turn things around within 30 days, which is another way that we do it a lot of times. So anyway, you get the general idea of how quickly you can pull out of things. It's just, you're going to have to add like 100 negative keywords a day and do that every day. And then after like 90 days of doing that, you've got a few thousand negative keywords. Your ROI is going to be probably twice as good as what it was with that PMAX campaign, at least originally, because not only is Google going to block you for those exact terms, but they're going to learn from the negative keywords you do add the general things that shouldn't show up for, which Google's gotten very smart in that you don't have to add every last iterant of a search term you don't want to show up for with your negative keywords that you have legitimately. If you add, for instance, if you didn't want to show up for anything related to grass, you could have green grass, black grass. Eventually, Google's system, after adding 100 keywords related to grass, it's just going to eventually figure out, wow, like it's dumb to have our ad show up for anybody that has anything with the word grass in it from now on. Even though there's 5,000 ways to type something in with grass, it didn't necessarily take adding grass in broad match, which by itself will block out a lot of the grass terms, but not everything, unfortunately. But what will happen when you add enough terms with grass in it, it'll just stop showing up for anything with grass in it at all, even though you've added all those grass negative keywords in exact match. That's why when you add negative keywords every day at the beginning to get your ROI up as quickly as possible, you'll find out more and more, basically almost every day, that the search terms that show up are a lot more targeted to what you want, and you'll get results like on the daily. Like they show up the next day, everything's dialed in a bit more, and it just keeps getting better and better. Therefore, your ROI goes up and up. So with that said, I'll wrap it up with that. Thank you very much for watching as usual, and I'll see you on the next one.
Remember when I said PMAX was important during this video? Well, this video here tells you how to do it.